My personal journey it's really long, and I probably am the antithesis to a lot of people in your vocation. And here's why. So I go through a horrific domestic violence episode in my early 20s, and I did not talk to anyone. There was such a stigma, and we'll talk about all of that. I just did my best to heal on my own. It was a very long, arduous process. And then I found myself years later in a marriage that ended up being abusive.
Welcome back to another episode of Strong Place. I'm Io Johnson, Executive Director of Mental Health America of Central Carolinas, and we appreciate you being here. Do me a favor, please hit that like button and subscribe and share this episode. We are trying to get the word out about mental health and how we reduce the stigma around talking about it. We really appreciate it. And today I have with me North Carolina Senator Woodson Bradley. Woodson is a domestic violence survivor and advocate for families, children, and teens across North Carolina. She currently speaks for the Mecklenburg County Domestic Violence Speakers Bureau. Woodson also speaks in CMS schools for teen dating violence prevention, for Love Speaks Out. She's on the planning board as a survivor voice for the Mecklenburg County Family Justice Center, known as the Umbrella Center. She has appeared in public service announcements and videos for Safe Alliance and has been featured in social media for the Jamie Kimball Foundation for Courage. Woodson is a mom, wife, business owner, community leader, and tireless volunteer, and I can attest to that. She's busy, and so we're so happy to have her today. She's the daughter of a career public school teacher and social worker who went on to work in the juvenile court system. Community service is how she grew up, who she is now, and what her new family is known for. Her entire life has been dedicated to public service, volunteerism, advocacy, and being a community leader. Senator Woodson graduated from Hollins University with a degree in economics and business administration. She also studied environmental economics abroad at the University of Sydney in Australia. I want to say like II or something, but I think I'm going to mess that up, so I'm going to let you tell me how they say it. And worked as an elementary teacher through a Rotary Service project in Lucia Bay, Jamaica. She understands the importance of business growth and public service, and more importantly, why they go hand in hand. And we're definitely going to talk about that because that's important. She's dedicated her life to public service, and she is North Carolina Senator District for 42. And I am proud to call her my Rotarian sister. Welcome to Strong Place, Senator Woodson Bradley.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm just honored to know you. You were one of my sponsors for me joining Rotary, and so I appreciate that. And I've gotten to know you over the last year, and I'm just really excited to have you on Strong Place.
Oh, thank you. And I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. So I always like to start off and ask my guests about their personal mental health journey.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about yours.
Well, my personal journey it's really long, and I probably am the antithesis to a lot of people in your vocation. And here's why. So I go through a horrific domestic violence episode in my early 20s, and I did not talk to anyone. There was such a stigma, and we'll talk about all of that. I just did my best to heal on my own. It was a very long, arduous process. And then I found myself years later in a marriage that ended up being abusive. And through that journey, when the children got folded in, I did the only responsible thing I could do as a mother. And I left and I protected them. And I became a client of literally every social service vocation you can imagine. I mean, all of that. And in my mental health journey, if you would. I had the most incredible counselor, but I would not tell her anything about myself until I knew what was going on with the children and were they going to be okay, and what was going on with their therapy and their counseling. And then finally, I opened up to her, and there was a lot to unpack, and it was incredible. And through that gave me the final tools I needed to make my little jigsaw puzzle complete. And it's something I work on every day. And that is why I'm so passionate about the mental health of our children, the mental health of teens, the mental health of all of us. Culturally, where we all come from, the stigma needs to go away. And I'm the first one to say, don't do what I did and wait decades to get help, because back in the day it was used against me. Mm-hmm. So then I refused to talk to anyone. And now it's a new day. Mm-hmm. And this is how we start healing ourselves. And this is how we become more productive. And more importantly, this is how we come together as a community, is when we're all in a good emotional state. So yeah, I'm ready to dig deep with you if that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I definitely, I've always found your story extremely fascinating. You don't hear a lot of people, women especially in politics, lean in. It's sometimes like a double-edged sword, right? Mm-hmm. When you're a woman in politics, and you've told me some of the different things. We know it's predominantly male dominated, mm-hmm. largely white male dominated. And so, like you said, oftentimes when women are vulnerable about what we're going through, it's held against us. Like, oh, we're too emotional to be in leadership, or we're not going to make a logical mm-hmm. conclusion or decision. They assume we don't know anything about budgets. And so just, watching your advocacy alone, right, outside of just your public office, but your advocacy alone, the amount of information I get from following you on Instagram about what's going on in our state government has been really, really valuable to me. And you just keep it real, which is what I love, love, love about you. You just keep it real.
Well, that's just it. I mean, jumping in the arena of policy and public opinion, that was not on my bingo card. That mm-hmm. wasn't on my roadmap, my flow chart. But I came to the realization during COVID, while my children were sitting at our dining room table in Zoom school, mm-hmm. while I watched people I loved and cared about getting put in different silos based on the information they were getting, I was still coming through the most horrific divorce custody battle epic levels, mm-hmm. and basically turned over that information, my notes, things like that, to help other women and families trying to get out of these horrible situations. Then because of that advocacy, I saw families now holed up in homes with no means of any type of outside contact in abusive situations, and that escalating. And then I realized I've never been political, but politics has always dictated my life. Mm-hmm. From getting help with the children, getting help for myself in the 90s when there weren't even stalking laws, like spousal rape was still legal when I was going through that. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Wow.
It's not that long. And then I just looked and I told my husband, I said, somebody needs to do something about this. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, you're a somebody. Honestly, that's how all this started.
Wow. Your husband encouraging you.
He did. He said, well, you're somebody. And I was like, okay.
And you don't see that often, a husband encouraging their wife to go into public office.
And he said, you are just real. And there's people so out of touch mm-hmm. with what goes on in real situations and budgets and what it means to stretch a dollar and having things not be all rosy all the time. He said, you have a really unique perspective that you have been in the luncheons where you're trying to help build a nonprofit or support them mm-hmm. or get the word out. But then you also were a ward of all of these organizations. And you've seen the holes, you've seen the victories, you've seen the failed policies, you've seen what policies need to be. That's just he goes, I can't think of anybody that's been there. And I said, all right, let's go. If this could make our place a better place for other people to live in a better place and become the North Carolina that I believe we can be, that's what started this whole journey, was that one, me just getting fed up in the kitchen. And and here we are.
And here we are. Let's talk about like mental health in North Carolina. I want to say maybe about 9 months ago, I've sat on a panel, and in doing some research for that panel, it was about youth mental wellness. And I was floored when I read the statistic that in the last 5 years, the leading cause of death in our youth ages 10 to 24, the first or second leading cause of death, one of those 2 years it dropped to number 2, has been suicide, death by suicide in young people. What can we do as a state and as a community to help get some laws in place to safeguard our youth?
Thank you so much for this. First of all, we have to call it out. I mean, the whole reason I'm going to use domestic violence as an example, and then we're going to go into bullying. We're going to go into sextortion. I mean, we're going to talk about some stuff. So domestic violence has been around since the beginning of time.
Right.
It doesn't discriminate. It is in every culture. It is disgusting. It is wrong. People are not property. And the only reason it's been allowed to permeate and continue is because it happens in the shadows. People don't talk about it, or they go, that's none of our business. And then it continues. But someone who perpetrates that type of abuse is banking on you being quiet. They're banking on you taking on the shame, like I did. And they're the ones that should be shamed. They're the ones that should be called out. They are the ones that once they're exposed, they go away.
Right.
And so you've got that layer. Then you get into teens, bullying, wanting to fit in. You add social media on top of it. I know how hard it was when we were teenagers. I cannot imagine going through what's happening now with social media, instant access to mass text or embarrass someone and think it's a joke or it's something funny. For you to think that someone is enamored with you and you might compromise your better judgment, but out of the goodness of your heart and do something that might embarrass you if the world knew, and then that's weaponized against you, and the thought of your parents finding out or your peers finding out is worse than calling out someone, a faceless person on the other end of that digital media.
Right.
And you will take your own life. As a mother, as a person who has been humiliated by an abuser, yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Right.
And we're going to show that they need to know that the other person is the one that needs to be worried, not them.
Right.
And we have got to have that conversation. And I don't care if it's hard. It's time to be courageous. And I don't care if it's inappropriate. What they are doing to our women and children is inappropriate. And when you talk about boys, that is the number one cause of teen suicide in boys. We have got to fold young men into this conversation.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's the real talk, because if we can get past that initial sting, we could really help and save thousands and thousands of people and go after these monsters, because that's what they are. They're vile. They're human cancer. Cancer lives in the shadows.
Right.
It feeds on darkness.
Yes.
It feeds on you not checking. So these people, I call them human cancer. So let's get rid of them. Let's absolutely call them out.
There's been a couple of controversial state laws, pieces of legislature. One that I know MHA has been directly impacted by, because we've been wanting to bring some more mental health education into the schools. And the Parent Bill of Rights, as a parent, right, and when you read it on face value, it seems like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. I should be able to know or approve before my child gets exposed to whatever. But so face value, people think and listen to the title and be like, of course, I'm a parent paying the bills around here. It's my right to know what my kid is doing and who they're talking to or whatever. But when we think about the tragedy of teen mental health in this state, and we think about them not being able to, just because they're 17.9 years old, not being able to access support in schools without the parent, interfering, is scary. And I have to admit, I, as a parent,
Sure.
my daughters just turned 30 yesterday, so now I get to say both my kids are in their 30s.
Sure.
But as a parent with, 2 kids in their 30s, I can't even imagine what my kids may have been going through if they wouldn't have been able to talk to someone. I think about myself as a young teenager. I had a lot going on.
Oh, sure.
My ACEs score, my first childhood experiences score is pretty high.
Yeah.
Me having access to someone to talk to in school, because some of, not all, but some of my trauma was coming from my home life.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get people to really see what this bill really is and how it's limiting our kids' access to the support that they need?
So it's really funny that you bring this up, and you would have no way of knowing what I'm about to say. So the Parent Bill of Rights sounds amazing. I mean, it's a great title.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree as a parent, that we need to really know what's going on. But you and I are talking as parents that are safe places to fall for our children. We have a rule in my house, not really a rule, kind of a mantra. My children will not say, "Oh my gosh, I have got to figure this out because if my mom finds out, I'm done."
Right.
My kids go, "Oh my gosh, I've got to call my mom because she's going to know how to help me through this." And I understand not everybody has that. So I drafted a bill, and it was opt-in for children's health, and that included mental health. And I specifically carved out the health screenings and mental health issues of the Parent Bill of Rights. And here's where I'm going with this for people that don't know. The Parent Bill of Rights, up until it was enacted, every child was opted in to health screenings.
Right.
They were opted in to different classes, whether it be on sexual health, whatever the case may be, and they were opted into the books or whatever's being read. Mm-hmm. But even though they were opted in, every child, every parent had the option of opting out. That was never not a thing.
Right.
That has always been a thing.
Absolutely.
So the Parent Bill of Rights opted every child out.
Right.
And you had to opt in. But some schools, you couldn't just opt into everything. You had to opt into everything individually. We're talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of things. So what I did was say, let's just opt in when it comes to a child's health, their dental, their vision, their hearing, and their mental health, their counseling.
Right.
Let's let them have a place, a safe place where they can talk. We saw what it did to the health screenings. It decimated vision screenings, dental screenings, hearing screenings, which really hurts a child's ability to learn if they're unhealthy. Mm-hmm. But it also devastated counselors and counseling services in schools. Now, I can attest to that. When I was going through what I did with the Mecklenburg County Family Support Services, those counselors would come to the school, and none of the other kids knew why my kids were being taken out of class for 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time, for them to have a space where they could talk. We weren't driving all the way across town. It was the most unbelievable service that I didn't know existed until I was a client. And through that and through the school counselors helped my children heal. While they were still around their peers, there was no embarrassment, there was no stigma. And people need to understand that there are children that go home to not happy, safe places. And the schools have always been where epidemics have been diagnosed, disease trends, but also mental health trends have been where if there's something going on with kids in a particular school that are being preyed upon by someone in the school, around the school, in the neighborhood, we've been able to identify it this way. This bill never made it out of committee. It became a partisan issue. It was never even brought to the floor. And it would have helped thousands of children get access to everything around their health. Why is that a partisan issue? Why is that political? That should be the most non-political thing. And yeah, here we are. And it does not reflect what the average person wants for their children.
Do you think it's because it's really about I can't let you get a win because you're in a different party than me? Or do you really believe that the other side just thinks that all this is hoopla, this is made up, it's fake news, there's nothing wrong with our kids' mental health, they're good?
It's all of both. It is political theater. There is an invisible scoreboard in Raleigh right now, and there's one in Washington, D.C., where they score points. And it has nothing to do with what's best in North Carolina, for example, for 10.5 million people. It has to do with this party division that's the most unbelievably gross thing I've ever seen. And so kind of my superpower is being real and bringing tough things out into the open, but in a very kind and pragmatic way. Mm-hmm. And then saying, why would anybody disagree with this? Help me understand where you're coming from, because I just don't see how you could say this isn't good or best. Not because I'm smart or smarter. I'm not saying that at all, but just like, how can you disagree with this? And so that messaging has got some people on the two-step. The other thing is there is a gross denial of what this means, because it is so stigmatizing to certain people that, oh my goodness, we won't appear to be public. We won't appear to be perfect. We can't go out in public and have people whispering about us. Well, no, this affects everyone.
Right.
And so I'm on a mission to be like, your mental health is so important. I mean, look at what's going on in the news right now. There's like a serious mental health thing that has been swept under the rug for a long time with individuals, mm-hmm. as a culture. And it's okay. And so just bringing that out into the open, that this is figure outable. Why are we so dead set against this? And then just being quiet. Let them explain to us why they won't take action.
I feel like right now what's going on in the media is the facts don't really matter.
Yeah.
We're leaning more into what people's personal truth is, right? And they make their personal truth, they will stand on that. They will stand 10 toes down and be like, no, this is the facts. And I'm like, no, this actually isn't the facts.
Right.
We're getting to a point now where we're ignoring data. Mm-hmm. Data doesn't, and we have leaders that are kind of just on a whim just saying, well, yeah, I'm not going to fund this because I don't personally like it.
Right.
Or I don't personally believe in it. And how do we get back to we collectively, the people, right? And not them the bosses, or them the purse holders, or, them the elite. How do we get back to we the people so we can help one another?
We have got to address the fact that we the people means all the people. Right. And the definition of all is all the people. The othering has got to stop. Mm-hmm. That's the most un-American thing we can do, is this othering that's going on. So you have that. This messaging is calling out, again, in my role now, but in the community. I've been doing this for decades. Mm-hmm. When something would come down through the pipeline, whether it be a policy, a law, or just a cultural norm, I'd be like, how is this good for all of us? Because this really looks like it's good for some of us or a few of us, but how is this good for all of us? And just being able to speak out in that way. But we're seeing a groundswell across the country that the levers of power that has been gamed and in certain areas. And how do we become more reflective or indicative of what the entire country would like to see rather than what a precious few in control are enforcing and pushing that way. And so there's just a huge where people are getting their information, and they're only tuning into things that are like-minded.
Right.
And then that creates this, and that's like a whole thing when it comes to emotional and mental health. Just that alone is the sources of where you're feeding your mind.
That's so true.
It is very true. And then you have this awakening happening in younger generations. I'm seeing it. And are they going to get a chance to have their moment in the sun to rewrite the trajectory and to also kind of right the ship off of this one-ended or spectrum fringe mentality on either end, the political spectrum, the social spectrum, whatever you want to call it, to get us back in the middle. Because the Venn diagram, there are far more of us overlapping in unison than are on what we call the parentheses.
Right.
And it's time for that center section to rise up in their voices, in their actions, and forcing these conversations to be had privately, publicly, in policy, in community, in church, in your faith walk.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's how you build a community. And so we've got to be vocal about it in a mindful, heartfelt way and take this finger pointing completely out.
You said a couple of things. Something that you said made me think of our Rotary 4-way test about will it be beneficial to all concerned? And I think that was one of the things that drew me to Rotary was the 4-way test. I'm like, oh, wow, this is like how I live my life. This is how I work, how I lead, how I parent, and I wish that we could have more people that thought about that, you know what I mean, that really leaned into, is the decision I'm going to make on behalf of these millions of people or these thousands of people, is it beneficial to all concerned?
Right.
Or just the people like me that are in the socioeconomic class that I'm in, or my gender, or my business sector, whatever. For you, you were a realtor, I believe you told me, right? You were in real estate
I've been for a long time.
Long time.
Almost 30 years.
And I would say you still are. I said you were,
No.
I'm assuming that you...
I do things for friends and family and on the side, but my primary
thing right now is working in public
That's
office.
right. Working for the state.
Working for the
state.
the
people.
Right, for the people. What lessons did you learn in working in real estate that time? Were you able to transfer into public office?
Well, real estate is, okay, let's say a real estate transaction. It is the most emotional thing a person can do other than getting married or divorced or experiencing like the death of a loved one. It is, it will consume you. It is emotional. It is worrisome.
Humbling.
It's very humbling. Your whole life wraps around the roof over your head. Of course, all shapes and sizes. North Carolina is a melting pot, especially Charlotte. So relocating people here from other countries, from other part of the United States with different age children. What about the schools? How close is the hospital? What is my commute going to be? You're ingrained in these people's lives. And I love that part of it. That was, I happened to sell sticks and bricks. I really was helping people navigate, their life and where they were going to call home. And you learn so much about so many things that you never even thought about, because what concerns you and what are your top things on your list may or may not be what this family or this new person or this newly divorced woman or a widower that's never been by himself before, whatever the case may be. That's a heavy lift. And I love doing that because I love people. Again, I just happen to be selling sticks and bricks wrapped around the transaction. So through that journey really helped me understand policy from a hardscape, infrastructure, transportation, public safety, healthcare, but then the soft part, the parks. How are you going to get back and forth to kids' baseball games or soccer games or dance recitals? Where are you going to worship? Things like that. And I never realized in that journey that it would prepare me so well for what I do, because I'm in a room full of attorneys. And no one's ever run on a domestic violence platform before. I think everybody should live in a safe house. I don't think that's radical. I do. I think your children do. So I was very vocal about that. I think for people to be able to afford to live where they work is the American dream.
Right.
And that, again, that is for all the people. The people.
I have a daughter who's a high school teacher. We have this conversation often.
Of course.
About her being able to afford on a teacher's salary to live in Charlotte.
Yeah. And that is a huge thing that I talk about, being the daughter of a public school teacher.
Right.
And then you wrap all of that up in community. How can you then make the community, where are you going to volunteer? Where are you going to spend your time? Are you able to walk your dog in your neighborhood? Like all of these things. And so it brought a sense of realness that I didn't understand people were hungry for. And I didn't understand it didn't exist until I kind of jumped in the fold. And people were like, oh, you are so different. And I was like, I am so regular. And it's a shame that that's so different. So I'm hoping it'll help foster other normal, regular people with real needs, real hopes, real dreams, and real calls to action to join in this journey and have them represent where they live.
Right.
That's who we need.
Something just keeps coming to my mind. I don't know why I was like, do I want to go here? Do I not? But I remember when you first took office. I think there was maybe a delay in you being sworn in or something.
Yes.
And I remember you telling me about like how you were to get your office furniture because I guess you got there late. Everybody had taken all the furniture, and you went into the basement and kind of like scrapped up some furniture.
I did.
What was that process like? You go through this, election. You get duly and rightfully elected by the people in your district. There's kind of a little bit of a fight, but for you to get into your position, how did all of that weigh on your mental health, and how do you take care of your mental health now?
Oh, thanks. Well, yeah, there were court hearings and recounts, and it was just so ugly. And I thought, wow, okay, we're starting off this way.
Right.
But I thought, no, I was chosen and I'm going to fight this fight. I've always been a fighter. I fought for myself. I fought for my kids, fight for other people. So I wasn't going to roll over. And then they didn't want to swear me in. Right. And then I became a political football. And that I was like, oh, heck no, no. So I thought I might be the little country mouse that lives in the big city, but no, I'm going to outfox this machine. And so when I did finally get sworn in, I was the last member of the legislature, of the whole legislature, to be there. And I had no security credentials. Everyone else did. I didn't have a login to my email. That emails have been coming in since like election, the day after the election, hundreds, probably over 1,000 emails coming in. I had no way to communicate with these people. I did not have an office. And then I did not have any furniture for that office. And I had to hire what's called a legislative assistant. And I did. And so I went down to the basement of the legislative office building and looked through all of the thrown out furniture from other legislators that, had donations to them, and they were outfitting their office. And I did. I repaired the furniture that I got. I put it in my office. I covered up the hole in the floor. There literally was a hole in the floor of my office with an extension cord coming out of it. And that was the only outlet in my office. And I bought a rug, and I said, my office is going to be the soft place to fall. When people come in here, either with their problems or asking me to fix something for them, it's going to feel like home. And I'm just going to do the best with the cards that I've been dealt, and I'm not going to be ugly about it. And I'm not going to raise a stink about it, even though I'm entitled to, because they are going to show that they have not got me down.
Right.
And in doing that, it was very hard to do. The mental health part of that was swallowing that anger, swallowing that injustice. And sadly, because of my domestic violence journey, I learned how to swallow emotions. It's not healthy, but I learned how to do it. So that came into play. And then I would talk about it. I would talk about it with my trusted leaders. I would talk about it with my family. I would talk about it. I had rage walks when I would come back to Charlotte with a bunch of moms. And let me tell you, we solved some problems on our rage walks that turned into legislation.
Wow.
And I know that might not sound healthy, but we would just be walking around the neighborhood and they'd be telling me about their children or their adult children or something that happened at their workplace. And I thought, okay, this is what it's all about. But that was very therapeutic. And I do take time for myself. And I try to compartmentalize, this is what is happening because I'm flexing back and they're used to just having everything done their way. I'm handling these things the best I can from a solution standpoint. Instead of lashing back, how can I create and find an avenue to get people talking about this that will force them into some type of action or defense? And then how can I show them that what they're doing to me or what they're doing to a certain group of people is not benefiting the community as a whole, business as a whole, education as a whole, kids as a whole, whatever it is. And I'm trying to show people that this fabric is interwoven whether they choose to believe that or not.
Right.
And all of that is wrapped up into this weird, selfish, mean industry. It is the meanest, weirdest thing I've ever done, and I love it because I feel like my bad country song journey in a very weird way prepared me for this. That this is not going to be, they're not going to kick me down. I'll just maneuver a different move and I'll figure out how to punch back in a way that helps people. So there you go.
My friend, my Rotarian sister,
Yeah.
my senator, I appreciate you. You I just appreciate your realness, your grit, your resilience, your fight. Thank you for fighting for us, the people whose voices they're trying to quiet and to silence. Yeah. Thank you for staying in this. I know it can't be easy. Tell your husband thank you, because I know you probably go home and just give him an earful, and he's probably your sounding board, and he just helps keep you going and encourages you, and you get back out there.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the miles you're putting on your car, going back and forth to Raleigh.
Aww.
But we just really appreciate you. Absolutely. This could have easily been a 2-hour episode. There's so many things that we could get into, but I'm definitely going to have you back, because I feel like there's so much more that we can talk about. Please tell our audience where they can find you. I want everybody following you on Instagram. They need to know all the information that you are sharing. Okay.
Well, yeah, if you want to, we keep it light and we keep it tight, but on social media, when you have a name like mine, I'm really easy to find. It's Woodson Bradley. And so on Instagram, Woodson Gardner Bradley, super easy there. TikTok, Woodson Bradley 1. We do some really fun, interesting, kind of cutting, not for the faint of heart videos there. Facebook. And then I'm really jumping into LinkedIn. Okay. And again, just go to any of those sites and put my name in. You'll find me. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll find me. Well, thank you. Thank you again for being here on Strong Place. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Strong Place. I'm Ayo Johnson, Executive Director, Mental Health America of Central Carolinas. Please do not forget, like, subscribe, and share this episode. We need those of us, especially in this area, to be following this great woman and getting all the information that she has to share. Until next time.